This guy's full time.
Party, the Tahoe PUD, would you all please stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
At this time, we have comments from the audience on items that are not on the agenda. I understand, sir, you have something you'd like to say?
Thank you for the time.
You just step up and let us know who you are.
Can you hear me? My name is Jesse Garner. I'm a customer, a long-term customer, 15 years, and a happy customer, like clean water and when the toilet flushes, it goes somewhere. I'm active in my neighborhood fire safety. So on 2 points, you have a lot directly in our neighborhood, a residential lot that has a water tank on it. I kind of expect the district to act in a good neighbor fashion to keep the fire safety on that property squared away. There is a California Fire Code 4291 that says if you have a structure on a property, you got to do some things. So I encourage that we get those things done. There's another property that you own within a 32-acre lot that's along the Coal Creek watershed, and it's a little more remote, fenced in, and my concern there is that it not become a problem, that somebody take a look at that once in a while. Since you own it, I would think that it would be a responsible act to go and look at it once in a while. And then lastly, I continually get neighbors reporting to me that insurance on their homes are being canceled. And fire risk is one thing that we can all relate to as excitable for the insurance companies. But when I hear somebody getting canceled because they don't have hydrant pressure near their house, my first question is, how the heck did the insurance company know that? And why don't I know that as a neighbor? So I've asked and been given hydrant pressure readings or modeling readings from black to red to green and blue in the neighborhood, for which I'm grateful. I'll deal with that. But the question remains, how often do we test those things? I assume it's annually. And a new result will be available within the year. So fire safety and hydrant pressure are my two comments to the board today. From Montgomery State's Coal Creek Trail area, we had 3 sites that were surrounded on by the Forest Service and one side by the city's lot along Coal Creek Trail. And not only do I have to ask my neighbors to be fire safe, I have to ask the federals to be safe and the city also to manage their property responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, do you have the addresses for those lots? Or
I do.
do you know,
Would you like them? I'll give you this.
Yeah, Chris, I think we're aware of those properties. Yeah, we've been working with Mr. Garner for a few weeks on and off for a year.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time. As you probably were informed, I saw you were talking to staff earlier, and I expect the staff will continue to communicate with you. There are a lot of the issues that you talked about, we have talked about extensively at the board level. So we're not going to go into any more of that here just because of the Brown Act is not on the agenda. But I just want to let you know we will encourage staff to continue the dialogue with you.
I'm always responding to.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. And go to the next item, which is corrections to the agenda or consent calendar. We are going to add a 6D, and it's concerning Tahoe pump station repairs. In order to add this, we have to, at the last minute, have a 4/5 majority, which is in this case unanimous. Just because of the timing of the issue, we always add these just because we feel it just wouldn't be in the best interest of the district or the ratepayers to wait 2 weeks. So we will need a motion. Melanie, why don't you read us a motion on this?
I'll read the motion. So this item is being added to the agenda because it came to the board's attention after the agenda was posted. It does require a 4/5 vote. The district has learned that one pump station, the Shellac pump station, is in need of repairs due to malfunctioning impeller. The Shellac pump station was installed in 1969, and the parts to repair the 40 horsepower pump may no longer be available. If the parts are no longer available, staff may need to replace the pump, which will take approximately 12 to 16 weeks and cost approximately $60,000. So today we're asking that this item 6D be added to LAC pump stations repairs for action.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we got our 4 votes. We'll discuss this further when we get to item 6D. Are there any other corrections to the agenda or the consent calendar?
This is, I'm not sure I'm here, just real quick on 4B. This is kind of just a curiosity thing on my part. That's the grant funding that we're going to match. I was just wondering if we knew what that was, if there was already intent for that money, or if it's going to be an interest out of efficiency upgrades.
Lynn, do you want to jump on that, or Julie's got it?
Yeah, the water smart, rubber smarts.
Water smart driver smart? That's me?
It's me. I was like,
I was
No, but I have a question.
not the trees.
No. Efficiency, yeah, efficiency.
Oh. This is your item.
That's a, no, sorry, excuse me.
What's your question?
Yeah, 4B. I was just curious what we were looking to spend the money on.
Oh, okay.
Right,
Sorry.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
That I can answer. Yeah, so this is the application for the grant that would fund the addition of instruments, power meters, flow meters, pressure meters, addition or replacement, and radio upgrades at our 6 highest producing water facilities that all happen to be wells. Okay?
cool, thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. Boy, do we have a crack staff or what? They're just not.
Yes.
So that's good, Nick. That you kept them on their toes. I like that. We get it going there. So how about we have a motion about the adoption of the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, that passes 4-0. Which moves us on to the action items, Geronimo Waste Pipeline Emergency Repair. And I'm assuming this one is you, Julie.
Yes, it is. And I have my questions today. So today we're asking to terminate the emergency action out on Geronimo. The work is complete. Last week, Alicia Brothers was out doing a pulverization of the roadway, and the county came through with their promise of hot mix asphalt, and so that went down towards the end of the week. Everything's back in service. I had a conversation with the homeowner that had expressed the most concern about the condition of the roadway and the disturbance that we've made to the surface. And he wanted me to pass on to the board his sincere appreciation for sticking with this concern of his and bringing it to the county, and he's very happy with the end product, and has basically said, no, he's going to set up a gate at the end and charge people entrance fees, because they now have the best roadway in that part of the county. So anyway, he gave great kudos not only to the staff, to our staff, but also to the contractor, and thought they were very professional. So with that, do you have any questions?
I think you and your staff have done a very good job of keeping us up to speed on this project at every step of the way through, and thank you.
And great job on the 10 grant from the county as well. Getting what you get out of that situation is amazing. So yeah, I mean, that was a big section.
Yeah, and we, as promised, we will continue to work with the county over the course of the winter to get an agreement in place, so that kind of expectations are set in advance for the future. With that, I would like to ask that pursuant to the Public Contract Code, Section 22050C, that the board terminate the emergency action to replace approximately 250 linear feet of sewer pipe on Joanna Way pursuant to Resolution 3117-19. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. 4-0 on that. We're going to move on to the fiscal year-end statements. Paul.
Yes. So I have to apologize because this item is normally on the consent calendar. You see it quarterly because it's just an administrative step to receive and file the financials. But we mistakenly labeled it as an action item, so it does require a separate vote today.
Kelly, you weren't all over that? See, I missed one agenda review. That's what happens.
Not Kelly's fault, our fault. So anyway, next month, the district auditors will be here, and they'll be here to present their formal report on the year-end financials, as well as on their audit findings. So as for today, unless there's any questions regarding the agenda item write-up, I'd like to recommend that the board take action to receive and file the June 30, 2019 income statements and balance sheet reports.
So,
I'll second that.
okay, 1-0. Good job anyway, Paul. All right. Payment claims.
Move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $1,905,729.38.
A second. Brings us to item 6D, the Tahoe pump station repairs. Chris, I assume this one's all yours. This one you got item 2.
Apologize again for the late entry there of the item here, but we just found out, I just found out last night, yesterday is when they found out. But Tahoe pump station, it's out at the Y past where all the beaches are, out in the middle of the beaches there. And we had a problem with one of the pumps. It's a 40-horse pump, and it's a Tahoe pump. And Jeremy did some research there, jumped in anytime. Did some research, and it's a 1967 pump, but it was installed in 1969. And what happened was, evidently, the impeller on the bottom of it, the nut that holds that on, came off. And while doing that, evidently, I don't know if it was ruined before it came off or what happened, but the impeller itself has been scarred up. It's short.
It was a bunch of drops, so when the knob came off, and it dropped down into the fluid while the keyway was turning, and then it destroyed the keyway as well.
Yeah. So, like I said, we just found out about this, and as you know, pumps take anywhere from 6 to 12 plus weeks to get. We did make some contacts this morning, and we may have found a distributor that may have parts. We're not quite, have you heard back yet?
Actually, I talked to Simon's Pump out of Search Square, and they were telling me that he thinks 99.9% sure that they will not have parts.
So you're looking at a new pump, just because the agent pump, like that can get this rebuilt, right?
Yes, it doesn't sound like we can get any parts. Like I said, we just started this morning looking into the parts. We would like to get the parts and get it done sooner back in service, because only having one pump there, luckily right now, there's not as many people at Fall and Leaf. This station takes in all of Fall and Leaf and all of the forestry. So it's a little cooler outside. There's not as many beachgoers and that many skiers and whatnot out of Fall and Leaf. But in rain and snow events, we still have issues with I&I, and it makes us really nervous to lose a pump like that, especially on stations that are close to the lake. So, yes, we would like to have a couple days maybe to search around for some parts, but I didn't want to wait until November 8th for the next board meeting to come in and then get authorization to purchase another pump.
Just lose 2 more weeks, you know.
Yes, we'd like to move forward now, so we're just asking today for authorization to be able to move forward and then come back at a later date with whatever pump we got to purchase and things like that. Just trying to prevent another delay of an extra 3 weeks.
How old is the other pump?
The other pump's good, right?
How old?
Oh, excuse me, they're both put in at the same time.
So it's 50 years old.
Yes. We've been talking, we had a meeting this morning with Shannon, and Shannon actually had a very good idea that we need to sit down, come up with all these stations, all these pumps and motors that are 1960s, and then maybe take a step back and see what we can do to start budgeting each year to have extra ones on the shelf or just replace the ones that are right on that fine line right now. So we're not, I don't know if we'll ever get away from this type of situation where a pump just breaks on us and we're waiting for 12 weeks. But we got to do something different. We're trying our best to streamline where we can prevent some of this.
Are the pumps uniform enough that you can have a shelf item that would work in them?
Not at this time.
Yeah, see, that's kind of
Yeah.
work.
That's why I say we may end up replacing some of the ones that we know are 1969 that may be working.
And maybe
now.
try to get a standardized replacement.
Yes, sir.
That's what we try to do with the 85 project, trying to make it extend those.
And then this station does not have a standpipe for bypass pumping. And here in the future, we'll be back to talk to you guys again. The Godwin pumps that we have aren't doing us any good. We used one the other day out here on Upper Truckee Sewer, and we were down 15, 20 feet with the suction hose, and it would not suck out of the well mill. And long story short, these Godwins, if we get into emergency and have to pump at some of these stations, we're going to be pretty close to
So
falling
in general,
behind
they
our
can
scope.
handle 15 foot ahead?
No.
Really?
Roughly, it's not.
That's about the limit.
Yeah, 2018 is, tough once it gets past 20.
Yes. But worst case scenario, if we do have problems before we get the pump, we were talking about maybe renting a higher output Godwin type pump, and we'd have to do some rigging inside of the station in order to bypass pump in the station. But that also means manning the Godwin 24 hours a day. The doors to the building would have to be open, so we'd have to have somebody there at all times.
This is, of course, worst case scenario.
Yes.
Yeah, but like you said, if we have a bad I&I, then you gotta get it.
Yes, sir.
We've got to go ahead and do it. We can't afford not to do it.
That is my opinion. I believe Jeremy
Get ahead
also.
of the game, but we're behind, so
Yes.
far behind because of being deferred for so long that we just need to review these things.
Yeah, the pumps crew's done an excellent job on rebuilding these pumps, doing machining. But like we've talked about before, you can only rebuild something so many times to where you're just wasting money. And then the reliability really goes downhill too.
This goes back to Schroeder, it's his fault, because he's
I like
the one who really started comparing those things.
Yes, but like I said, 1969, that same pump in the same station, that's pretty good record.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is very good. But like I said, we wanted to come see you today and see if we could get the ball moving a little bit faster, just in case.
Out of curiosity, when was this anticipated to be replaced?
The pumps,
Or- Yeah, just the pump in general, or did it not have a slate?
It's not really currently on the schedule that I'm aware of.
no, we run them until we can't run them anymore, we can't rebuild them.
But this is a duplex station, so we're down to one pump. Right.
Oh, yeah.
We'd like to have at least three, or have a backup plan. We're kind of lacking that today. If we're sitting here this February, we'd be a lot more concerned, I think.
Julie said it's on the back half of the 10-year plan.
So with these types of pumps, the way we've handled this in the past, we do have a somewhat small budget in the pumps annual budget, and we have pump repair and pump replacement money that is budgeted in there to do that. In the past, that has been I wouldn't say that has not necessarily been designated for specific pumps to be replaced, but it is a catch-all for when we have these sort of situations occur. But going forward, as Chris and Jeremy have said, they're going to develop a plan. We're going to look at these 1960s era pumps and these pump stations, develop a plan, and then prioritize what we think is the replacement schedule for those pumps. Again, as has been said already, staff have done a fantastic job operating, maintaining these systems, and keeping them running. The problem is we can't get parts. We're losing capabilities with retirements, with our machining capabilities within the district, and so, in my opinion, it is time for us to move to a new method of operating and go ahead and replace these old pumps and have them with modern manufacturers so that we can get parts and repair them in a short period of time. So we're changing how we've operated a little bit in the past, but I think moving into the current era, it's the appropriate move. These duplex stations are certainly concerning, but I don't see us, I think the other priorities that we have in the collection system and in the pump system, I see as being overriding the need to replace these fully replace these pump stations like we're doing in Tahoe Keys and Upper Truckee. So going in and just replacing individual pumps, I believe is the right approach with these individual sites. We do have we've had some brief discussions. Again, this just came up this afternoon or this morning. We've had some discussions about going in and looking at these pump stations as well. This is a 40 horsepower pump, am I correct? And those pumps were designed for a much larger collection system when they were installed with more development that has actually taken place. And so there may be an opportunity, depending on what I we see out there, what our modeling reflects, what the flow monitoring has indicated, to see if maybe we can reduce the size and therefore improve efficiency of these pumps in place. So without replacing the entire station, we go and replace pumps with a smaller unit.
Very good. Yeah, why don't you state what you want, because it's not on my paper.
Want me to read that motion?
No, Chris is asking, okay, go ahead.
No, I said I was gonna read it, but I don't have the paper.
Yeah.
Well, I heard, so the board needs to move to direct staff to research the repair and or replacement of the Tallac pump station in an amount not to exceed $60,000.
There you go.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. All right, so I guess we're all the way up to standing and ad hoc committee reports. I don't have anything that standing or ad hoc committee. We were supposed to have a meeting today with the city, but nobody was available, so.
Right, so
Pushed off.
it's scheduled for November 7th.
Right before next board meeting, so. Any others?
We had operations on Monday, and you got copies of these.
I was gonna say I was fortunate enough to attend the ECC meeting yesterday. It was the first time I'd been there. First time, great group of people. I'm gonna tell you, not only was it a wonderful group of people, but when you haven't had breakfast and there's a tray of breakfast burritos with chorizo and bacon, like, that was a good event on many levels. But no, I just was, thankful to attend and talk with everyone. It was a really good thing you got going on.
Yeah, thanks for the report. Had a lot of people come up and say they're glad you made it, learned a lot about you and where you're coming from on the board, so just say thanks for that.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have a board member report? So I guess there was a Colorado County Water Agency for bear meeting.
There was, which I did not attend, but John did go, and it was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was a very good one to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, so it was a special meeting. It started early because there was a giant presentation plan on the culmination of the Water Resources Development Master Plan. So a multi-year, I think it's like a $500,000 effort. So this is the final big PowerPoint presentation. It was at the county facilities at Fairland. And that was the day PG&E shut off the power for the.
Oh, and I thought noticed that Delaware County was closing offices because of that.
Yeah, it was like the town was shut down, and people were like, "Where do we go to eat if we don't know?" So go to Tahoe. But so we kind of struggled through that presentation. We had a small screen and a laptop for the whole room, and then the battery died out. So we kind of lived through that, almost a 2-hour presentation. But other than that, I mean, it was the work itself was really fantastic. I mean, a lot of this was focused on the west side. Of course, we had the east side. We just don't have the same issues and problems with plenty of water and not all the development, obviously. So a lot of the presentation and the questions and follow-up were based on the west slope activities. Other than that, that was pretty much most of the meeting. And I talked to Ken a little bit about expanding the scope of projects that we can submit for our cost sharing program.
All right, well, good. I guess you can roll right into your report, John.
Okay, I've got some updates for you today, starting with staffing. First in engineering for the asset management analyst position. We had that 4-month cross-training effort. So right now we have 4 candidates in-house getting ready to interview next Tuesday. And interesting about the candidates, they're from underground repair, customer service, and engineering competing for this position. And they all bring kind of their own very diverse education and experience profiles. So I think really an enviable position for us to be in these days in Tahoe with these market conditions. This is a pretty unique, I think, job position as well. So it says a lot about the district, our cross-training programs, and I think about the engineering department actually also. It's a great place to work. So looking forward to those interviews on Tuesday and trying to get the engineering department back at the full staff. Next, in the pumps department, we have 2 current openings for a pump station operator. Another opening expected in the next 6 months due to a retirement that we're expecting. If you recall, we extended the initial recruitment period, which it closed on October 2nd with 32 applications. So we got about another 30 applications in that extended period. We're still reviewing those. We're meeting next Tuesday to come up with that short list that we'll interview on November 5th. So based on that interview, we're hoping to get an eligibility list. We can choose at least 1 or perhaps 2 or 3 off of that list, that same recruitment process. And then finally, the grant program assistant. This is a part-time position that will transition to full-time next year as part of a transition process related to Lynn's expected retirement in May of 2021. We reviewed 22 applications and 6 were interviewed this past Tuesday. And we expect to make a selection and notify the candidates probably tomorrow, but I would say tomorrow or Monday. And we'll let you know how that turns out. Next item, workforce housing. We have the next quarterly meeting is scheduled for October 31st at Barton. Nick, I think I saw, did you get an invitation? It looked like you're on that invite list. So Tim and I have been kind of tag teaming those meetings. Tim will probably be our point man on this moving forward. We're waiting for that agenda to be posted. And next, I just have a little update on the environmental policy. As you know, we've been working with the Ops Committee to develop a draft environmental policy, or perhaps this will be a sustainability policy. We're still working on that. We'll bring that to the board for the full board's consideration, probably in November or December. If you recall, this was initiated by Director Exline, and we brought this to the board, getting general direction to work on a draft document with the Operations Committee. So I think the full board can expect something to come forward in the next 2 months. And I don't have an item D, but if it were, I would talk about a Mexican delegation from.
I saw the press on that. There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know if the whole board knows.
When did they have it?
There's been, I think, about 10 folks from Mecca. It's
I know about that, and I saw that they
Sister
were.
City delegation. So I don't know when they got here. They actually visited the district yesterday.
Yesterday.
So they came here late morning, did a little PowerPoint. We converted some English units to metric units for them. We fortunately had some in-house interpreters. They're actually from Mecca. Erica Franco at the front desk, and Jose Ruiz, one of our operators, are from that town of about 60,000 people in Mexico. And the elevation there is about 4,000. We have a lot of problems with water and sewer in that town. Actually, it sounds like the sewage, they just basically, the raw sewage goes into a river, so there's no treatment of the sewage. And on the water side, if they have water, they might get water service for 2 to 3 hours a day if you're lucky. Almost no water coming out of the tap, so pretty basic services. So they came here, presentation, a planet tour, and I thank Frank for including us, on their tour, and perhaps we'll be working with them down the road a little bit. We'll see. So, but it was fun to have them.
You must have been pretty impressed compared to what they had.
They were, yeah. They were, and they're actually very interested in our recycled water operations. So, yeah, but it was fun to have them, and thanks for Shelley to be so accommodating. She was juggling that group with, I think, a couple hundred fifth graders that day. So, and that's my report.
Cool. Looks like we also have a report from Stephen on the Tahoe Keys and Upper Cherokee Pump Station. Oh, with PowerPoint. There we go.
PowerPoint. Good afternoon, and so I just wanted to give you guys an update on the progress in these two projects on the Tahoe Keys and Upper Cherokee Pump Station. It's been a while since we've been working on this, so I wanted to let you know where we're at and what we have left to do on those. So, to refresh everyone's memory, we have what we call our big 5 pump stations, and Tahoe Keys and Upper Cherokee are 2 of them. These are sort of the overview of kind of their general location within our system. Our project timeline, in a little more than 2 years ago, we kicked off this project. We started with the condition assessment of all 5 of those pump stations. We completed that in April of 2018, and then immediately moved into alternatives evaluations to address the deficiencies that were identified in the condition assessment. We completed that in November, and then went into final design on Tahoe Keys and Upper Cherokee, which were deemed to be the 2 that had the most issues and the biggest projects that we needed to address more quickly. And so we're in that process right now. So on Tahoe Keys Pump Station, I think we all are painfully aware of where this one is, with our sewer failure a couple of years ago. But it's on the corner of Venice and Tahoe Keys Boulevard. And it's a high traffic area, especially in the summer. And it's a critical pump station that pumps pretty much all of the Forest Street area and most of the Tahoe Keys area and pretty much west of Tahoe Keys Boulevard it collects all of that and pumps that all to our Tahoe pump station, which then pumps it to the treatment So during the condition assessment, we found the following deficiencies. The pumping capacity for that station is insufficient for pumping stormwater, not stormwater, but the storm flows, particularly a 25-year event. And we've been fortunate that over the last 30 years, we haven't actually technically seen a 25-year event. So we're statistically due for one, I guess is the one way to put it. And then we only have 2 pumps at that pump station, so the redundancy has always been a concern out there. If we lose one of them, then we are really only dependent on one pump. The pumps themselves are obsolete. They I think installed in 1997, but they're no longer manufactured. We haven't been able to get parts. We have a similar issue that we heard with Tahoe. We had to make our own parts to keep them running. And the electrical equipment also is, a lot of it is the original equipment. This station was built in 1960, so it's almost 60 years old. And so it's served more than its useful life, and it's time for it to be replaced. Also, since it's built in 1960, it doesn't meet current seismic codes, so anytime we go in and touch a facility, we have to bring that up to current codes if we're doing any sort of structural improvements. And then there's other miscellaneous things like the odor control system we're going to take a look at, and some ventilation that needs to be addressed. So where we're at right now, we are at 50% design level on Tahoe Keys, and so this is from our basis of design report. It kind of gives you the overview of what will be there. So So this area is the current pump station, this building. So, and the wet well is this area right here. So what will be constructed is a brand new wet well right here with 3 submersible pumps. We'll be addressing the redundancy issue. And then we'll have a valve vault and a meter vault that will then connect to our existing force main. We will also be putting in a new influent manhole out in Tahoe Keys Boulevard, new influent sewer, and then the Tahoe pump station actually pumps into the manhole just upstream of Tahoe Keys currently, and that manhole is in very poor shape, and so we are going to reroute that force main to go directly into the wet well. That way we can direct the discharge of the force main so that it's at or below the water level. Will reduce the turbulence and the potential for corrosion coming from that. And in addition, the wet well will be lined with a PVC liner, so that'll help protect the concrete from corrosion in the future. So some of the challenges that we're facing at this pump station, as you can imagine, being in that location, groundwater is really high. We're right next to the lake. We're very close to the lake, I should say, so groundwater elevation is very similar at lake level, and the bottom of this pump station is 30 feet below grade. So we're going to have a groundwater challenge. We've looked at several different methodologies of how to control that. We think we have a fairly decent plan moving forward, but it's we have to keep the groundwater low for a fairly long time. So it's a contributor to the cost of the project, for sure.
If that's 30 feet deep, the groundwater level is right now it's about 3.5 feet below grade.
Yes.
So 26 feet.
Yeah, it's a challenge, to say the least. But I do think we have a plan moving forward that will be constructable. So we've got still have some more work to do on it to finalize the details, but I think the concepts are sound. So I can talk to you more about that later if you want to know.
Are you still considering freezing the ground?
That is one of the options. Probably not. What we have heard on that option is that it takes about a month to actually freeze the ground. And so you've got to have the equipment out there for a month just to freeze it, and then you got to keep it out there the whole time when you're doing the construction to keep it frozen. So it just seems like that doesn't work with our timelines very well. One of the other challenges is poor soils. So the geotech report came back and showed that we had very liquefiable soils in the 50% of a seismic event. The predicted settlement was about 3.5 inches in this area, so we need to make sure we address that. I think we had looked at some other potential injection of some sort of polyurethane foam to help with that, but that cost was very expensive. So I think really what we're going to end up doing is just excavating it out and bringing in better soils and recompacting that. The other challenge is the electrical replacement. I mean, with these pump stations, they're pretty small footprint. There's not a lot of room inside of them. We have to keep them in service while we are doing this construction. And if we're replacing all the electrical gear, how do you take half the electrical gear out and keep the other half running and put new stuff in and jockey all that? So it can be done. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of very close coordination. But one of the concepts we came up with for addressing this was having the contractor construct a temporary electrical trailer. Basically, we'll have all new gear on this trailer, and then we will basically just move the electrical service over to the trailer. We'll be able to demo everything out inside the pump station, put the new gear in the pump station, and then move everything back, and should have very limited downtime for the pump stations. And then, once we're done with the project, the trailer becomes the district's. We'll be able to use it at subsequent projects, and also at certain, use it for certain water booster stations or other sewer pump stations in the event of an emergency should their electrical gear fail. So, currently the construction cost estimate for this project is at $4.9 million. That is higher than what is currently in the CIP, so that number will have to be adjusted for next year, and we'll have to figure, Paul's helping me figure that out, so how we're going to do that. The total project cost, when you factor in permitting, engineering, and administrative costs, is around $6 million. And we are currently at, like I said, the 50% design level. The plans are under review. We have a workshop scheduled next week with the consultant to provide them comments on that. The 90% plans will be delivered by the end of the year, which is a requirement in order for us to get our state revolving fund application in by the end of the year. So they've changed their process, so we have to have it in by the end of the year. They should give us notification, say in April, whether or not we receive the funding. So we will bid this in the summer/fall of 2020, but the majority of the construction will happen in 2021. There's a long lead item for getting that temporary electrical trailer fabricated, and also if there does need to be some groundwater investigations done prior to construction, we want to give the contractor some time to do that in the fall next year so that they have the information they need to design their dewatering system. So before I move on to Upper Truckee, any questions on Tahoe Keys?
What was the budgeted amount?
I think it was about 3.6 million.
So it is unfortunate. It seems like these kind of things happen quite often when we begin a new long-term plan, that some of the projects at the beginning are a little front-loaded, and then they end up coming in over budget, and unfortunately that does impact everything down the line a little bit.
It's the water and the soil conditions in this case are probably adding more than $1 million
They are.
to this project.
Yeah, those are definitely things that, for a typical pump station, you wouldn't have nearly as much to deal with.
Your vault must be pretty impressive.
Well, it's the
30-foot deep, you said, right?
Yeah. So
I actually engineered one of those, and the soils guy gave me a saturated backfill and an active pressure like 60 pounds per cubic foot, and so the bottom walls were over 3 foot thick. And yeah, it was a massive amount of concrete.
Yeah, so we're looking at doing a sort of a precast vault. So, well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
It'll be pretty massive also.
Yes.
Yeah.
And curls likes it.
Yeah, that's good.
But it makes sense with that amount of water, because if they were to form and pour, they'd be down in the hole for a lot longer, and then you'd have safety problems also.
Exactly. And with the the tight site that we have, I mean, excavating down to that, and you couldn't lay it back, because you would take out a big portion of the intersection, so you're going to have to have fairly compact excavation, but it's going to be 30 feet deep. So. All right, so Upper Truckee Pump Station. This pump station is located right along the banks of the Upper Truckee River, just off of the Sierra Truck neighborhood. It was built in '67, so it's not quite as old as Tahoe, but it's still over 50 years old. During the condition assessment, we identified insufficient pumping capacity, especially during wet weather events. There's a pump safety issue with the configuration of those pumps. They have rotating line shafts that the motors are on one level and the pumps are on another level. And so there's rotating line shafts, and if those things were ever to go while someone was down in the pump area, it would be a pretty scary situation and potentially a very harmful situation. So again, the pumps themselves are obsolete in that we can't get parts for them anymore. They're no longer manufactured, and the electrical equipment again is it's a similar situation to Tahoe Keys. Same with the seismic and other minor things like increasing the bypass pumping connection capacity, and it sounds like potentially we need a new document, and what Chris said earlier today too. The proposed improvements, I'm not sure how well this one shows up, and I apologize for that, but basically we wouldn't be building any new structures out there, but we would be replacing all 3 of the pumps with larger pumps that can pump more flow. And we'll be adding flow meters and some additional instrumentation just to have a better read on what's actually happening at the pump station. So some of the challenges we have at this pump station is that the incoming flows vary significantly. During the summer, we can be down around 200 gallons per minute coming in, but during large storm events, we've seen as high as 4,000, maybe possibly more. It's just that our flow meters only go up to 4,000. So, and so with that, it creates a big problem trying to find pumps that will cover that entire range, and especially cover that entire range efficiently. So if you have so anyways, I don't need to go into too much detail on that, but just know that that is a challenge. What we're looking at is having one small pump that can handle the regular flows and what that exceeds 90% of the time. And then we would have 2 large pumps so that those would handle the wet weather flows. And then we would have a 4th pump, a small one, on the shelf in case that first pump were to fail. That's the current concept that we're looking at. Since we are in the existing building and we are upsizing the pumps, one of the issues is the limited space and trying to figure out how those pumps would be taken in or out of the pump station. So pump maneuverability and the space are kind of go together. The pumps that are being proposed are much larger than what's currently there, so we have to figure out a way to get those in and out safely so that our crews aren't cursing us the whole time when they're working on them. And then electrical replacement is, again, because of the age of the equipment, and because we're upsizing the pumps, we need to proceed with that. The cost for this project right now, the current construction cost estimate is about $3.2 million, with a total project cost of $4 million. And I believe last board meeting, Julie had kind of talked about the condition assessment we're doing on the sewer in the meadow. And so we have placed this design on hold for now until we get the results of that, because we may want to pivot and change course on how we address the kind of overall view of the collection system for the Upper Truckee Basin and not just the pump station. So once that's complete, I'm sure we'll be back going to be talking about what our decision point is and what direction we're headed in.
What was the budgeted cost for this one?
This one, it was right around $3 million.
So if these roads, it's a $3.4 million above budget or not?
Trying to remember if the CIP has the construction cost or the total project cost. I can't remember.
Just total project cost.
Total project cost. Yeah, okay. So yes. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you for the update. And Randy, if we could have another staff update from Chris, and it's related to that condition assessment for the sewer line Steve mentioned.
Back
Mostly
again.
good consumption.
I think in the past, I try to keep you updated on everything, and I believe I've talked about, we have a 24-inch gravity main out of the airport that appeared to have a grounding rod from the top to bottom. You guys remember that? Yes. Well, right next to the river, and it's probably 15 feet plus deep. We went out last summer with a camel and tried to vacuum out to get down on this rod to see if we could see it. We couldn't even get down past 6 to 8 feet. The camel would fill up with groundwater. So basically what we were looking at is another Tahoe Keys, having to dig up bait or tank if we didn't have any other solutions. Well, thanks to Shannon, he did a little research there, and he came up with a company, Pacific Sewer Maintenance. And so Doug got a hold of them, and they told us that they could come out and cut that rod out from inside the pipe. So and the cost was around, they said $8,000, we're looking probably $8,000 to $10,000. So yesterday, they came up to do it. And I got to tell you, we were all really impressed with this group. It was an excellent find. So, long story short, they cut that rod out, so I'm going to turn it over to the main man here, a little succession planning for the future. But there's some video.
You see, you got a little teaser right here on my screen.
Yeah.
What's coming up?
It's an 8-hour video. But we,
Yeah. I think it does it down to 30 seconds.
Yeah, we
That's
cut
cool.
it down quite a bit. But we really thought it was something you might be interested in, because if it would have turned into a Tahoe Keys job, we'd have probably been looking at hundreds of
I
thousands.
bet you're going to give me an Excalibur.
No. So compared to the hundreds of thousands we spent at the Tahoe Keys, this is phenomenal. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ivy.
All right. So they went in first with this hydro wash, like a little pressure washer on the front of the camera. And they were just cleaning off the rod over the years of buildup and stuff. So it's good. Us see that it wasn't as thick as it really was, but we can see. All right, you can see right there. And coming back, he noticed something on the wall here, so he was going to clean it off. He saw some infiltration, which we didn't spot. And he blew up the corrosion that was building up there.
So Aggie, this is a concrete pipe with a plastic liner with it?
Epoxy liner, yeah.
The liner.
So then he created a little liner for us.
That was leaking out the bottom, and he stopped, and I didn't see it. And he goes, yeah, you can see the water moving. And so we went ahead and washed it off, and this is what was underneath it.
We saw that when we were pulling the camera out. After they took this cleaner off, they put the cutter on. This is a saw. It's about a 6-inch saw. As you can see right there, the left hand is cutting the top of the rod, which is solid copper at the top. And then
It was copper, but
at the top, but at the bottom, it was rebar.
it's like the
Base.
rebar through it.
Or it was copper clad. A lot of ground stakes with copper clad.
So he cut the top, and there's a top piece that he cut off right there. There's about an inch or so sticking out. This is him cutting the bottom. And you'll see it fall in a second.
So he wasn't able to cut it exactly flush with the,
Well, no, not with the saw.
Right now, he's leaving about 3/4 of an inch to an inch sticking out the top and bottom.
So now we have, since he cut it off and we stopped the flow, we plugged the line upstream. So there's no flow in this pipe, but now we got a lot of inflow coming out of the bottom of this pipe.
Around the state.
Yeah. So they came in with the grinder after the saw, and they got the top to 1/4 of an inch sticking out, and the bottom at 3/16. So then we're hoping to get a hold of robotic sewer solutions to line this for us. That came out here pretty earlier this summer.
They've lined some other stuff for you, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Doug and I talked to him.
And that's it's not epoxy, but it's a coating system that sets up with the water.
Yeah, it's just a 4-foot liner or 2-foot
Right,
liner,
right.
2-foot liner. And there was a little concern about the liner itself being too thin, so once they blew it up and cured it, that maybe a sharp object would push through it. But we were basing that on the 3/4 to an inch sticking out. I found out from IB this morning that they got it down to 1/4 and 3/16, which is phenomenal. So talking, they may be able to double up 2 liners and put over it, and then maybe a liner on each side overlapping to try to.
In that one area.
Yeah. We're hoping for the liner, but it's important that that water stops. So we're still talking with the liner company, and we may not be out of the woods yet, but there's a lot of positive talk from this company that they can help take care of it, especially now, I would think, since it's that small sticking out of the side of the pipe.
But then there's other areas like that one, corroded seam or whatever that was.
Yes, what we're gonna do.
So you could line the whole thing to try to get it all.
We may. That's worst case scenario, but what we're gonna do is October 30th, Doug has it set up where we're gonna rent a camera that goes in these 24-inch lines. And we have to shut down the airport every time we do one of these things, according to FAA. So what we're gonna do is October 30th is what we're shooting for. And then we'll get out there and we'll use both cameras and try to camera every line that's out there in the airport, which is the line that also goes down to Upper Truckee Sewer. So if we find 3 or 4 more, what we want to do is get this company out, shut the airport down for just a day, and try to line everything we can to fix whatever the problems may be. Instead of coming back, shutting the airport down consistently for half a day.
Just give you some advance notice.
Flying out.
Yeah, you never know.
We thought you'd want to see that. I believe at this point it's saved the district a lot of money, and a lot of kudos to Shannon for finding it. Because, like I said, this would have been
Pretty sophisticated robotics there to do that.
Yes, sir.
You know.
And they're also talking now that they're trying to come up with other stuff. There was the company is trying to come up with like a hydraulic cutter where you could go in there and just ratchet down and cut something like that. But that hasn't come out.
So
yet.
basically, it was like a robot guided angle grinder.
Yes, it was just a big giant
But it was,
camera
yeah.
and a rotating head on the top. Yeah.
And then they come back, they had a cutting head, and they came back with a grinding head.
Yes, sir.
You know, like an angle, just on an angle grinder.
Yeah, it was phenomenal to watch. It really was. It saved us a lot of money if everything keeps continuing down the road we're hoping for.
We have an estimate on the flow that's coming in.
Pardon me?
Do you have an estimate on the flow that you found?
Conservatively, between the rod sticking out and the side of that pipe, what you saw, conservative wise, you're probably looking 5 gallons, or a little bit more a minute. And that ground rod was leaking before he started cutting on it, he thought. Obviously, we couldn't see at the bottom because of the water, but he looked
How
like
many
he was
years has it
slow.
been there?
A while.
Yeah.
A while.
Yeah.
And then when he was backing out the camera, he saw the water leaking at the bottom. And so I had to kind of clean it up to see, sure enough, there was a potential, well, it is a bad spot now, but we may have missed it, and in another year from now, that could have blown out, and we'd have never known it or never thought about it again until we TV. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's it. So,
I like the future meetings, there's one board meeting, not a lot going on. So we have a couple closed item sessions to go on, so let's, we should be able to come out of, open session in a closed session right now, we don't need a break, it's only been an hour, right? Yeah, that's not good. So we are going to come out of closed session into open session, we are going to report
District with board authorized recommendation of the solid agreement development committee and authorized session notice of termination.
Right. Meeting adjourned.